Rolling?
I like the Joey D shirt.
I like it too. I just got my long sleeves out. It's
Nice.
starting to get a little chilly, you know?
I know. I might start sweating in here with this thing on. Oh, we're rolling.
We are rolling. Roll it.
Episode 38.
38.
Woohoo!
We're here at Kolka Studios. Ryan Mackey on the sticks. Be sure to give him a follow at Max Visuals, MACKS_visuals. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volly House Podcast. And if you didn't already, check out the Halloween merch we have and use code Halloween for all merch for 10% off.
Probably takes a week for that stuff to come in.
Yeah.
At least, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you gotta get on them now. New sponsor alert. Command Fire Apparatus.
Sellfiretrucks.com.
Yep. We'll start with them. Need a reliable fire truck? Have a surplus fire truck to sell? At Command Fire Apparatus, they specialize in high-quality used fire trucks ready for your department. They're not brokers. They buy, refurbish, and sell directly to you. From pumpers to ladder trucks, they have what you need. They pride themselves on delivering a truck to you that is ready to go in service. Join the many satisfied departments that trust them for their fire apparatus needs. Experience stress-free selling and buying today. Visit sellfiretrucks.com or call 866-238-6688. Your next fire truck is just a click away. Command Fire Apparatus is a firefighter-owned and managed company.
And we had Glenn on the podcast. If you want to go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah, very interesting.
But I've been following them a while. They got a lot of good rigs they turn
do.
over.
They really do.
And they've been turning them over fast lately.
Yeah, well,
great.
if you're in the market for a new rig, maybe a brand new rig is not in your budget, definitely.
Or a quick fill-in.
Yeah, or a quick fill-in, definitely check them out. And you could also check out that episode with Glenn Houston, who explained the whole fire apparatus current state.
In the background of why used apparatus is getting
Right.
bigger and bigger.
Right. Kev, you had some things to plug, the 5K runs?
Yeah, so, part of the North Shore race series that they had going on, Setauket started it off. This Saturday, the 18th, is Terryville's 5K, which they've been doing for a while. So that's this Saturday morning. And then the following weekend, you have the Stony Brook Fire Department Monster Dash. And that's on Saturday, October 25th. So you got 2 more 5K races before the end of the year. This is a good time to run because it's nice and cool now, but also supporting these organizations as well. And if you race all 3 in the series, you get a commemorative challenge coin
Oh, cool.
for racing all 3 races. So hopefully one of us will get to the race this weekend, maybe hand out some stickers. I'm running low on stickers, so hopefully we have some more.
I got some.
But maybe we can go over there and talk to some people and hand out some stickers this weekend. Or you can come and meet Tyler and take a picture with him with that smiley face over there.
No pictures. I'm just joking. Whatever you want. Okay, cool.
Excellent.
Oh, shit. Ryan, can you grab the Frontline optics in that white bag? I totally forgot to bring them up
Oh,
here.
I forgot my glasses. Oh, they're in my bag too. Yeah, what are you going to do? VHP 15 for 15% off at
VHP
frontlineoptics.com.
There you go, Kev.
See, I'm pretty good at it too. I can do it.
Wave to the camera, Ryan. Show your pretty face.
That's Ryan Mackey.
No, just this one.
Max Visuals, MACKS Visuals,
Underscore
visuals.
How do you spell visuals,
I'm not
Kev?
going to spell visuals.
Let's get into suspended or not.
Oh, my glasses.
Okay, this
do you
one
got?
was
What do you got for me?
submitted. A captain wakes up for a structure fire. Attached garage with PD advising fully involved garage, 2 o'clock in the morning. He wakes up realizing he has his 2-year-old daughter at home and his wife is away. So he gets the 2-year-old out of bed and responds in his personal vehicle to the fire. And after arriving on scene, completes a 360 and size up with her before asking the EMT from the ambulance if she would mind watching her. Wow.
Well, I don't know if I get my kid out of bed, but
if you're home alone with a 2-year-old,
that's pretty ballsy.
that is ballsy. And doing a 360 with
I will
a fucking
say, I will
2-year-old
say,
is your-
there was somebody who might have done something similar. So, but I don't wake my kids up.
I mean, I'm not a parent yet. So
2 years old?
2 years old.
That's not good, bro.
All I know, my friends that have kids, my brothers, you do not want to wake up a sleeping child. Not to mention bringing them in. If PD is saying it's fully involved, which, I mean, take that with a grain of salt.
Listen,
but
I'd stay home on that one.
I think I would stay home on that one.
Yeah.
But
I will say I have done something similar. My daughter was, so I got out of the chief's office, and they made me a safety officer. So I had gear and a mask in my car, and it was like a Saturday, and I said, I'm going to run up to the bank. You know, this is when you still went to the bank. People don't go to the bank anymore. But my daughter was, so she was 8. Yeah, she was 8, maybe 7. Anyway, I was on the way to the bank, get to the traffic light, and the radio goes off, and it's not too far from where I am. So I'm like, maybe I'll just do a drive-by. So I kind of turn around and go back, and I could see the smoke, and I'm like, oh boy, garage fire. So I park across the street, get out of the car, I park right in the driveway across the street. I'm like, this job, start putting my gear on. The medic pulls up. I go, watch my daughter.
okay, understandable.
So I ran in the house, made sure the door was closed to the garage. I moved some stuff out of the way so it would be an easy advance to that hose line. Made sure everybody was out of the house, ran upstairs real quick, came back down, and the engine was pulling up. But, yeah, and, Dennis Whittam passed away, but Dennis was a Terryville fire ex-captain, went around, took a lot of photos. He was on the V board for Suffolk County. Dennis took a nice picture of me and my daughter, and she's standing with my helmet on the front bumper of Terryville's rig at a fire in Setauket. And, and he used to, every once in a while, he'd come up and he'd send it to me, like it was in Fire News and everything. It was a nice little picture. But
she
cute.
was also 7 or 8 years old.
But she was 7.
This guy is
She was 7. It was during the day. We were in the car already. We were not
Right.
a couple blocks away. Different story. I don't think I would wake up my 2-year-old. My wife would literally, she was mad at me for taking my 7-year-old. And I had somebody watching her.
But to do a 360,
With your daughter in your hand?
You've done a 360.
That's
if
pretty
it
crazy.
was
What if
truly-
he fell? God forbid. Oh my God.
Or you're doing a 360, the fucking primary comes off the house.
Anything.
Or just, you've done a 360 before for a fully involved, even if there's flames coming out of the window, you can feel that heat.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's really
Absolutely.
hot from a pretty decent, distance from that fire. I would not be bringing a 2-year-old into that.
No, I wouldn't.
If I were the chief, 100% I would suspend that guy. 100%.
That's pretty dangerous. And, if nobody knew he was there, God forbid something did happen.
Yeah.
You're risking your kid's life. It's not very smart.
That's
to
crazy.
say. Not very smart.
No. Job of the week.
Once again, do not try this at home.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely don't.
Job of the week, there's been a lot of fires going around the island.
We got a submission from upstate.
They had a fire out in a nursing home in Greenport, which is on the North Fork of Long Island, pretty far out, almost all the way out on the North Fork. 110 residents, I think, were displaced. I don't know how bad the fire was.
This?
Yesterday morning.
I didn't see one thing about that.
You didn't see that?
No.
They were transporting people all over the place. My wife's rehab nursing home's taken in, I think, 20 of them, all the way in Smithtown.
I did not see anything about that, not even on the news or
Really?
anything. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was on the news. It was on Channel 12 News.
Interesting.
They, I don't know how bad the fire was. Like I said, they mutual aided from all over, including Shelter Island came across. But they were calling for ambulances all day yesterday, transporting people out.
That's crazy.
But
That's a hike out there.
you know,
too.
and we look at a lot of these types of buildings, and you get a lot of the smells and bells, automatic alarm stuff, in these larger buildings, and most of the time they're really not anything major. But when you really look at these buildings, whether they're ambulatory or non-ambulatory types of people, not only do you have the residents, which this I think had 110 residents in it, then you got to look at the staff that they have there. There's a lot of people in that building that
Yeah.
you have to worry about, whether you're moving them from one side of the building to another, kind of a shelter-in-place kind of situation, or taking them out of the building. And then if it's that bad, where the fire alarm gets compromised, the electrical system gets compromised, the water, gas, whatever, they cannot keep these places up and running. So you have to move them to somewhere else. And we saw a lot of this during Sandy, the floodings and stuff like that, where, even with generator backups, you couldn't keep these places running. You have to move these residents out. So I'm sure it took a lot to do everything they did out there. I don't know all the details, but they did have to relocate a lot of people.
Wow.
So that's one fire, but there's been quite a few fires around.
Yeah, we got a
Mattaville had a
submission.
barn fire out east.
This one's
yesterday.
a lithium-ion battery fire, house fire up in Salisbury, New York.
Salisbury.
Solar panels and 4 72-volt batteries inside the house. Total loss.
Wow. So it started with the lithium ion, or does it say, or they
No.
were just involved?
Didn't really specify.
Okay.
How about drill of the week? What do you got going on?
Drill of the week. What do we got going on? I'm doing a couple things next week. Monday we're gonna do a daytime training Monday, because we're gonna have that meeting afterwards. We talked about. I'm gonna do saws, so we're gonna be doing some partner saw operations,
Okay.
cutting some wood and some possibly some metal. We're gonna do that. After that, I'm still playing with exactly what I want to do. So it's really going to be dependent on how many people we get.
Gotcha.
So we did hose lines like a week ago. My company training the other night, they did foam operations. So we did that as a department training a couple months back, and they just did it as a company training. So, it's good to cycle through these things, multiple times. This way you're hitting different people.
Oh, yeah, for
so
sure.
The people that were at this training with my company, a lot of them were not at the foam drills that we did as a department, which is good. So you hit more people.
Right.
So it's good to mix it up.
Absolutely. Let's get into iCommand board.
You want to pick it up? It's
Yeah,
heavy.
you don't have to do that.
All right, I'll get it.
Every video we see from a career department incident shows an incident command board on scene. Yet, in many NIOSH LODD reports, a recurring finding is the lack of proper incident command. As a chief in the volunteer fire service, your responsibility is to ensure the safety of everyone operating at every incident. Gone are the days of managing this in your head or on a simple whiteboard. The owner of iCommand Board, a volunteer fire chief, took this challenge head-on by developing a professional tool tailored for volunteer fire officers. These command boards are designed with size, affordability, and most importantly, accountability at the forefront. Packed with critical information and checklists, they're built to help you stay organized and focused at every event. Visit iCommandBoard.com today and take the next step in ensuring the safety and success of your department. All right. Oh, yeah, well, the
Showing off all the cue cards.
cue
Tyler,
card.
this is what you got to say next.
Yeah, right. Well, speaking of next,
Next.
we'd put up a post asking what topics we should talk about, and we got plenty.
Keyboard wizards are out there.
Well, these aren't the keyboard.
No, I know.
keyboard
Hey, listen,
warriors.
it's all
These
good
are-
information, and not only for us to look at, but it's also other members or other departments and other people are looking at what other people are commenting, and we all learn off of each other, no matter how we do things. So whether you're taking trainings or sitting around the kitchen table, like we say, we learn a lot just at the kitchen table, just talking, throwing around ideas. So it is good to see that a lot of people have similar type of issues. The question now is, how do we solve all these issues?
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
And that's some of the stuff that we're working on behind the scenes to try and get something out
Well,
there.
we're working on a lot of things behind the
are.
scenes.
We are
so,
working on a lot.
As we start to expand the Volly House Podcast and everything else we're doing, like we said, we're looking to create a lot of different things or ways to help different organizations grow.
For sure. So this first topic, department elections and choosing the right candidate. So
Here it comes. Here's that time of year.
yeah, so there was a couple of those comments. So these are a few points that I have, and we can riff off of them and whatever points you have. So the first thing is, how experienced is this person, and how are they with their peers? How often does your department go to work? Do you need an experienced firefighter on the fire ground, or somebody that can lead a company/department? If this person is showing up and training with the members, then it'll help build experience and morale. Just because someone's a leader doesn't mean they're better at performing the job than somebody else. So those are my few points on that one question with department elections. So how experienced is this person, and how are they with their peers? We often hear it's a popularity contest, which, depending on how you look at that, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. You want somebody that's good with the members, but you also need somebody that's not a kiss ass, but also has some experience on the fire ground and can conduct themselves on a fire ground. And then the next part is, how often does your department go to work? So if you're a busy shop, you want somebody that's going to be good on the fire ground. If you are, say, one of like the rural departments out there that maybe you're not going out there, well, your job is to, and I'm not saying that you don't have to have experience. I'm just saying you have to kind of play devil's advocate with it. What are your thoughts?
I got a lot of thoughts.
I know you do. I'm waiting for you.
You know how that goes, but there's a lot to it. I mean, you need experienced people, but we don't always get experience the way we'd like to get experience, which is on the fire ground. And just because you're a good firefighter or you're good with the guys or the girls doesn't mean you're going to be a good leader.
Exactly.
So it's a catch-22. You got to be very careful. Also, when we get into the popularity contest, which, unfortunately it kind of is. But, listen, I've even seen in other organizations and, big and small paid departments or combination departments where a person takes a test and they're really not that good either. So, there's people that take tests and are born leaders and have experience and know how to, use it to their advantage and make things happen. And then there's others that don't. Anybody could sit around and read a book and figure out how to get promoted if you really want to. So it's a very, very delicate balance in everything you do. You don't have to go to a lot of work to be a good firefighter or to be a good leader. What I look in people is, yes, I like experience. I like people that can relate to the membership and get them to work. It comes back to the culture and everything else, but we don't need a negative culture. We need a positive culture in everything we do. So, if you're drilling, if you're training, you're continuing to educate yourself and make yourself better at the job and learning what your responsibility is. Even as an officer, right? You could be the best firefighter since sliced bread. When you're a firefighter, you're worried about really one person, yourself. When you become an officer, now as on the company level, now you're worried about the members that are on that rig. So the 5 or 6 people that are on the rig with you. Or on the social function, your company, which could be 20, 30 people, depending on the company. Mm-hmm. So there's different levels, but you have to realize it's not about you anymore. It's about the members. It's about how the company looks. Then as you advance from there into the department, now you're on a bigger scale. You're not just worried about your company and a couple people. Now you're worried about everybody. You got to take in that bigger picture. And then you have the company officers that wind up being the incident commander because there's no chiefs around. And you have to be prepared for that. So people think that, we don't need more training or it's too much to be a volley or everything else. You should be constantly trying to advance yourself every year you're in the fire department. Don't just take Pro B classes and Firefighter 1 and be like, I'm done. All right. Now start to advance yourself. RIT, ladder operations, engine operations, right? Tactics, all different types of tactics type level classes. Get into batteries, stuff like that. Take firefighter 2. Take an officer class. You got to constantly be moving forward, okay? Don't just sit there and say, I'm good until I got to get promoted or I'm going to move up the ranks, and now I'll go take firefighter 2 or something.
Right.
You should be constantly, if you take one class, think about this. If you just take one class a year, right? You get through your first year, your firefighter 1 and everything. And then after that, you say, okay, in year 2, I'm going to do maybe RIT, which is 5 classes in Suffolk. I mean, it's different everywhere you go. Or you can go like to the state and you can do it in 2 days and be done with it, right? So if you look at it that way, take 1 weekend a year and do a class. What's 1 weekend a year? To go advance yourself. Take an ICS class. Take an officer class or whatever. Fire Officer 1, right? It's a 1 week class if you go take the whole thing in one shot. Go do it, right? Now, think about this. You know, we have people that rush to be promoted. You do a year, maybe you need 2 years in your department as a badge holder to move to lieutenant, right? So now I'm 3 years deep, right? 3 years deep. I could have took 2 or 3 more courses in those 2 years before I decided to become a lieutenant. So let's just say you wait till 5 years. In your first 5 years, bang out all those different classes, make yourself a little better so you can learn more to educate yourself to be a better leader. But there's a lot to it, right? You got to be able to navigate the forces of your own company. You got to be able to navigate your other members of other companies and the department and move from there. So it's a tough road. And do you learn as you go? Yeah, you learn as you go.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
This
you
though
know,
is looking
it's
more
very
so
interesting when
at
I
choosing the right candidate.
Okay, hold on 1 second, though. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. I talk a lot. I know I talk a lot.
trying to
But
pull you back.
I know you're pulling me back in the reins. But, you know, I always find it very interesting where you don't see people for a while, and then all of a sudden, like September, October, you see them a lot. They're at everything, right? Oh, I'll do this. I'll run this. I'll do that. And you know, like I can almost pick people out if I think they're going to run for something. Because all of a sudden they get very involved in shit.
Yep.
They're writing stuff on GroupMe. They volunteer for every fire prevention. They volunteer. You know, it's like, I got to be seen. I got to be seen. I got to be seen because I'm running for office. And you could almost sense it. Like I can, after all these years, I can sense people. They're going to run for something. They're going to run for commissioner. They're going to run for chief. They're going to run against somebody for something. Like you could just see it almost. Like I can almost pick it out.
Right.
So it's very interesting. But I know what you're saying. How do you pick the right candidate, okay? If you have experienced people that have been doing the right thing by your company, not just you, but your company as a whole, and I'm not saying a person that doesn't make waves and just kind of goes with the cusp and just makes things happen, but a person that really knows now how to navigate, knows how to talk to people, has some experience and knowledge, is a pretty good firefighter, that's probably your choice. And they may not be the most active person. They're just better to be that leader, okay?
What's interesting is I've seen a lot of good when it comes to elections, for the most part, where
For the most part, it works out pretty good.
we had one night in my first department where 5 people were running for chief. And we were there for 3 hours.
Yep.
Started at 7 o'clock. And we pretty much knew that there was 2 of them that were, these guys are ready to be chief. And the other 3 were just, yeah, they're good socially, but they didn't really have anything to offer on the fire ground or outside of that. But every election that I've been a part of or seen, for the most part, the members have done a good job at picking the right person. I think maybe only once I saw where it really came down to a popularity contest, and I think it was because what you just mentioned, the other candidate just started coming around the time of election.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And people weren't cool with that, but they wound up getting in a guy that was really not in any shape to be. He wasn't good as a leader. He was the type that would yell and, you know, his way or the highway type thing. But it seems like there's other departments out there that have this issue where they know somebody's right for this position, but because this guy everyone likes because he buys them beers or whatever, that guy gets
And sometimes, listen, sometimes they change. Sometimes, they navigate it. Maybe they're not the right person to start with, but they learn from other people, or they start to see things differently, and you change over time. Like I'm going to say it, evolve. We evolve sometimes into, sometimes people got to talk to you, and I listen, I've been challenged. I run for races where multiple people ran and the wrong person sometimes does get elected. I've seen that before too. I've sometimes had people, say, I need to talk to you. I need to sit down with you. Let's talk about this, or I'm going to run against you, and I've talked to people, and, sometimes once they hear why you do certain things or how you do it, they see it differently, so sometimes it takes time. We all learn as we progress, one way or another, good or bad or indifferent. But now, and this comes up a lot too, toxic leadership, and we've had it. I've seen it in my own company, my own department. I've seen it in other departments. You hear about people talk about it all the time. And it's tough. And sometimes there's nobody else to run like that. You just, we're throwing people into, like, I don't like seat fillers. I really don't. If you're either step up to do the job or you don't. You could be a seat filler and still do a good job. But if you're just a seat filler and you're a toxic person, you're building bad culture within the organization. Whoa. I mean, like,
you can really fuck up a place.
You can really fuck things up bad.
Yeah.
And it's not good. It's not good for the companies. It's not good for the department. It's not good for the public, because people aren't going to want to come around.
Right.
So, it's a major issue. But you're right. For the most part, we do a pretty good job, I think. Even in the volunteer service, people slip through the cracks. But even in paid departments, and you hear about it, not just in New York, outside of New York, I've heard about it. Guys get in, they get promoted, they take a test, they have a good, some of them have to do interviews, they do a good interview, everything's great, and all of a sudden it goes down a bad path. So, it's not the easiest thing, but when you're dealing with people, like, we're in the people business, I say it all the time, we have to deal with people appropriately. And we want to share a vision and put them in a path that they want to go.
I'll also say this. One thing I always hated was election time comes around and you go down, you're hanging out at the firehouse. Somebody's like, oh, what do you think of so-and-so running? And they got something to say about them. Oh, well, this guy did this. This guy, you got to have, if you have that guy in your department or multiple of those guys that are going to shit talk somebody, you have to dig and find out for yourself. Don't let somebody's opinion sway you one way just because
I've always said that. Yeah.
That is a huge problem too, especially for younger members.
Yep.
Younger members are very easily influenced, and if you tell them this guy is no good, they're going to take that to heart and they're going to vote against him, when in reality that maybe should have been the guy in that position.
I've said that in a lot of places where I am, even in professional world, where people told me about people, and I said, I'll learn for myself. Or, I'll tell people, hey, I heard this about this person. What do you think? And I say, you're new here. What I'll tell you is this: figure it out on your own. I'm not gonna. You'll see very quickly whether they're good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, and I say too to the younger guys when they come in, you're gonna have, if people are talking to you and shit talking the department or other people, stay away from those people. They're no good. Those are typically the people that you don't see on the rigs. They come down for their cup of coffee.
Well,
and they're
listen,
like spider webs.
sometimes they're right.
Yes, but if they're right, they're not the only person saying it.
Correct. If it starts to see certain things, or this, see a lot of people saying to people with experience and time and everything else, different story. You'll figure that out on your own.
Yeah.
And I've been in multiple positions where either I got elected into something, or where people like, all right, listen, we're going to do this, or this is going to happen because of this guy. This guy's got to be fired, or whatever. And I'm like, hold on a second. Let me find out on my own. I don't need to hear from you. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'll figure it out on my own.
Right.
I'm not going to jump into something. I'm not going to do something without knowing the background, the details of the problem. once I figure all of that out, and if I can, concur with you, that's a different story. But I got to figure it out. Don't tell me what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it.
100%. The next one, somebody wrote, how to encourage members to participate in firehouse functions like maintenance and upkeep. So here's the few points. You can encourage people by doing it yourself in front of them, especially if you're an officer, but be friendly with them. You can make it a point that in order to hang out at the firehouse, you first have to complete a task. Example would be a rig check. I've seen a department that's done that before, specifically with probies. Do a task with another member and take the opportunity to know them better. And you will have people that are uncooperative about it. But those are people that either A, you don't want to be around, or B, they'll feel the pressure to join in. So what I mean by the first thing is you can encourage people by doing it yourself in front of them.
Did you put that into AI?
No. I am AI, Kev.
ChatGPT?
No, because sometimes I see these things and
No,
I'm
I
like,
agree.
I have ideas and I'm like, today I'm just going to write them down because I think for the most part, instead of just talking about the topic as is.
I like to just fly off the
Yeah,
cuff.
like why don't we give
I got this
people
computer here
some-
with nothing in it.
You always
Like,
have the computer up. You just stare at
it's
the
stuff
fucking
that,
screen.
I know, there's stuff in there that
But there's so much now coming in. But
there's nothing there.
the first part of it is you can encourage people by doing it yourself in front of them. What I mean by that is
I agree.
you gotta be that guy. If you see the garbage is piling up or whatever, take it out.
So I'll give you a perfect example. I'm at Fire Prevention Day. We just did Fire Prevention Day Saturday. So I couldn't stay all day, so I went in the morning, helped set up the tech rescue drill, this and that. So I go over, grab a hot dog. I go over to the garbage can, which is outside, and it's filled. Like I go to stuff the thing in, it's filled, So I'm like, first off, it should have been emptied. I don't know why it wasn't empty. Whatever the deal is. I don't make a fuss of things. I don't blame other people. I don't say, hey, the district should have done this. I walk into the kitchen. I go grab a garbage bag. I grab another hot dog on the way out. I got to eat too. And I go over. I flip the lid open. And the guy's like looking at me like, what is this guy doing? Pull the garbage bag out, tie it up, put a new garbage bag in, close the lid, walk over to the dumpster, throw the garbage out. Okay. I'm in my 38th year, ex-chief, ex-commissioner, and I'm still taking the garbage out. And I don't have a problem. But what kills me is to think how many other people put garbage into that garbage can that day that didn't do the same thing.
So
Drives me crazy.
that was my point is
But you lead by example.
Exactly.
And people saw me do it. And I'm not saying it's going to push off on somebody. Maybe it does. I really don't care. I'm not looking for credit.
Right.
I really don't care. And I do it all the time. I come in the firehouse, even in the parking lot. I see ripped off oxygen bottle tops, like those plastic sleeves or, Band-Aid or whatever. Doesn't matter. Garbage on the floor, water bottles all over the place. I pick them up, I empty them out, throw them in the garbage, or I throw them in the recycle bin, whatever it takes. I do it constantly. I don't really care. I'm not looking for acknowledgement. I don't care. I like a clean firehouse. People say, oh, we live in a garage, we this, that, like we could still have a clean garage. Like maybe it's the OCD in me, maybe it's the German in me. I don't know, but I'll always lead by example. And, there's another guy, and God, he's still around, Louis Andre. He's a friggin' legend, and I say it all the time. He's 93-year-old. He retired as a captain in the New York City Fire Department. He was a Marine. The guy is hardcore, and he's in the book, Report from Engine Company 82. And for any of you younger guys or anybody that has not read that book, you need to read
Glenn was talking about that. Glenn was
Dennis Smith's book, Report from Engine Company 82. The crazy lieutenant is Louis Andre. Louis been in my department since, I think, 1960-something or whatever. But I think he was a probie in New York City in like the 50s or something.
Wow.
Or 60s. Yeah. But anyway, Louis been to more fires than anything else. That guy will walk around and pick up your plate right off your table. He will take the garbage out to this day. And he was at fire prevention. And, we chatted a little bit. We usually do. But that's another guy. Like, I look at guys like that and I say, that's the way I want to be.
Right. They have pride in
I have
their
pride in my
firehouse.
I have pride in my firehouse. I have pride in my department, and I will continue to lead by example as best I can. It's not always going to be right. People aren't always going to like what I do or say, but I'm going to constantly lead, just by, like doing this, like we're trying to help other people.
Now,
And same thing getting into the tools and maintenance. When I do a duty crew, I check my rig, I take tools off. I start cleaning them. I don't have a problem with showing a younger kid how to do it, but I have no problem. But there's people that'll just sit there. They won't do anything.
well, that's my point.
But don't worry. You just got to keep going. Keep
I agree
building
with
that culture.
But there is the point where it's, all right, at what point are you now cleaning up after people that are just not
Who cares?
doing their fair share? And I get that.
Who cares?
But the way this comment was worded makes it seem like, because we have like the maintenance guys. Mm-hmm. They'll usually take the garbage out
Yep.
and all that shit. But these guys, it seems like, might do their own. They might be the guys sweeping their bay and whatnot.
And, when I even joined my department way back when, we took the garbage. You have a department meeting or a company meeting, you should be taking your own garbage out. Don't leave that on the district staff to do the
Right.
next day.
I agree 100%.
You make a mess in that room, you clean it up. You see crap on the floor, or get the vacuum, get the shovel, pick it up yourself.
I agree.
Right? We're not here to leave work for other people to do. The same thing goes with the rigs. You go to a fire, you get sheetrock and stuff on your hook. That's your tool. You come back, you put it back on the rig, you clean it, you put it back. Mm-hmm. There's no reason. Now, don't get me wrong. We have hooks and stuff on the outside of our rigs. They get rusty just from water, from rain. But you gotta clean your stuff. You have to be prepared that when you pull up on scene, your tools are prepared to work. Your saws are gonna start. They're filled with fuel. The saw blades are clean. The tools are clean. Everything should be ready to go when it gets put back on that rig.
Right. And all the stuff you're saying makes sense. And I agree with all the stuff that you're saying.
Lead by example to get people to do it.
Right. But with this particular thing, you might have some members that just straight up are not.
They refuse. They don't care.
So either, like, I know when I walk into a firehouse, even if I see one of the older guys just wiping down a table, oh, let me grab that for you. Mm-hmm. Just because it irks me to see that and not be like,
Yep.
dude, you've been here longer than I've been alive.
Anybody that's cleaning that's older than you or been in that department longer than you, and you see them cleaning or something, and you're standing around, shame on you. And I'll tell you right to the camera, shame on you. Mm-hmm. You see an older member get up, I don't care if they have 2 years more than you, 4 years more than you, whatever. You get up and say, I'll take that for you, I'll clean it. And it should continue right up the line all the way to the top, right? So we're constantly trying to lead by example. Listen, your mom does not work here. You work here. That's the way you got to look at it. You work here. And I'm not saying clean up everybody's mess and all the times like that. You got to build a culture somehow.
Right. Well,
little by little.
That's this point.
And some people, we embarrass them to the point to make them do it.
That was one of them.
And stuff like that. That's one way to do it, but be very careful with that.
So that was my thing is if you have uncooperative members and say you're still going around doing all this stuff by yourself, pop into the bunk room or wherever the guys are hanging out and say, hey, can you give me a hand real quick? You two young guys.
You can do that as well.
But talk to them while you're doing a task.
Right.
Get to know them better. And a perfect example, like Ryan, for instance, we tend to get
fun
in
of
early.
Ryan now?
No, I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying we start setting up, and Ryan's got all the computer shit that he's got to do. But he helps me set up, and we just talk. And I know a little bit more about Ryan, and that helps build morale.
Absolutely.
And just to get to know people, and you're going to have that one guy that's sitting on the couch on his phone, I'm not getting up. Okay, so you take those two other guys that are in that room, bring them, do whatever task you are, they go fucking hang out somewhere else in the firehouse. And that guy either is just not a guy that you want to be around, or he's going to be like, where'd everybody go? Well, and then he's going to get up and walk into you guys laughing, because you're joking around about something and he missed out. And then he'll want to.
You can turn that into things, whether you bring people outside and say, hey, let's just go over the saw real quick, blah, 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 blah. Pull the saw blade off, this and that, it's a little dirty, and, say to one of the guys, if you put a little diesel fuel on it, you can clean it up, and show them how to do it, and say, hey, you do it, and then you slowly integrate things that way. Listen, sweeping the floors, the garbage, stuff like that, it's going to happen, it's always a difficult road, and I try to stress, and it happened to me, quite a few years ago now, but, one day I was in the back of the rig. I wasn't an officer. One of the senior guys was driving. Sounded like a job. I went to get off the rig, and there was a water bottle just in the engine. I didn't see it. I stepped on it. It slid right out of the friggin' rig. You got to look at the stuff is everything can be a hazard to you. Whether it's a garbage bag on the floor, a piece of paper that's wet, a water bottle. Somebody can slip and fall and hurt themselves. And I look at that in anything. A little piece of plastic on the ground, you can slip and fall on. So I look at it from a risk point that we need to take care of our firehouse, keep it clean, but also to keep it safe for our members. And the same thing goes with stuff that's on a shelf. It should be put on a shelf correctly and not just falling all over the place where somebody's going to have to try to trip over it and climb over it and stuff like that. The hose on your rig, right? It needs to be packed properly because when it's time to pull it, you want it to come off the rig quickly and efficiently, that it's not going to get jammed up, stuck. Or when you're laying your 5-inch and it rips the freaking hose bed apart because it wasn't packed properly. So everything we do has a meaning. And it comes back once again to morale and culture. We got to educate our members. We got to build that morale. We got to try to instill that this is the best firehouse, have pride in our stations, and get people to work together as a whole. So, like you said, you can draw them in and say, "Hey guys, let's just clean up this area. I'm going to pull the rig out. Let's wash it all together."
Yeah, and again, that builds morale. And if you are an officer, don't pull the officer card and be like, "You do this," because that's going to kill morale as well. I had two guys came into my company once. Older guy, younger guy. The younger guy's badge number was technically senior to the older guy's badge number. So anytime...
How is that?
Because they came in at the same time.
They recycle numbers? Or?
No, the numbers just go in chronological order.
Oh, you mean he was just an older guy?
Yeah, older guy that just happened to
Yeah,
join.
right.
Not older. He was, but he's a father or whatever. And this other kid that came in was a teenager.
I got you.
And the kid had like an attitude, but like a funny attitude. Like he kind of got along with our guys. But at the end of every company meeting, low man on the totem pole goes and picks up the pizza. So this kid would say to the older guy, like, "Oh, he's got to go pick up pizza because he's got the lower number." And it used to drive me fucking nuts because this guy is much older than you. I get what you're getting at, but we got a new probie that came in under this one kid, and this was just me breaking his chops. Every time we had to go get pizza, he's like, "Oh yeah, this new probie go." I'm like, "Nope, you're going," because of how many times you threw this guy under the bus.
Yeah, or you do it together. You send them both.
Yeah, but I'm
one badge number or two badge numbers. I mean, come on, give me a break.
I know, but just those certain.
I came in with a group of people. We all got different badge numbers, but we all came on together.
Right.
But
you just sometimes you get
am I
those
one
idiots.
badge? Like we had a guy that came in with me that came from another department first, but I have a lower badge number. But who cares?
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
We all came together. In certain ways, numbers do matter.
Yeah, I'm just saying because again, you're going to get people that, regardless of what you try to do, they're just going to be a pain in the ass about it, and there's
shit on
multiple
you no
different
matter
ways
what you
to
do.
handle it. This next one, lack of standards and excuses. We don't do this all the time, and we're volunteers. Points here, depends on the task. Are your members concerned that they don't have the basics down yet, and you're doing a drill that might be out of the norm? And the term "we're volunteers" usually stems from a time commitment that gets stacked on top of other obligations. Are you keeping drills / meetings time sensitive? So if somebody says we don't do this all the time, I get that, but I would need to know, what are you asking them to do that they're saying we don't do that all the time? Because we don't get tech rescues all day, every day, but that's something you want to know, something we're going to have to drill on. So,
well, some people don't make it a priority.
But you have that. But the other thing is, you might have people that are just schmucks that are just, I don't want to do this. But there might be guys that, hey, we don't have like the basics down. Pulling hose line, forcing doors, but we're going to drill on, we're going to do the Denver drill, so to speak. That's where I feel like that comes from. And then we're volunteers. You usually hear when people, again, either don't want to do something because it's going to take too much time, or what are you asking them to do? Is it going to take a super long amount of time to do on top of all the other requirements that are out there?
Well, you shouldn't make excuses, ever.
I agree.
When people pick up the phone and they call for help, they expect you to be able to solve their problem quickly and timely and professionally. Whether you're paid, volunteer, doesn't matter. They don't care what name's on the side of the rig. They want you to take care of their issue. And, some people will say, well, you can't what if everything. But we're an all hazards type of agency. Everywhere we go, we have to handle the situation properly. And when you're not trained properly, you don't follow procedures, protocols, standards, and they're there to help us, to keep us safe. And if you fly by the seat of your pants all the time and you're not trained properly, you're going to get yourself into a problem. You're going to get people hurt, killed, or you're going to have residents get injured somehow, shape, or form. So you have to prepare for just about everything. And to just say, oh, I'm a volunteer, we do the best we can, we can't do this, we can't do that, it just can't happen. It just can't.
Right. I don't think I've heard that.
Oh, I've heard it.
Like, I'm saying, like, not a lot, but I've definitely heard it.
I don't hear it a
before.
lot, but I have heard it, in the past, and, they can't expect this from me. The public can't expect this from us, and all this stuff. Listen, they don't have anybody else they can call. You're it.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of extracurricular activities. Like, for instance, we put up that clip, I think it was you talking about the duty crews, for instance, and there was a couple people that were like, I will not be mandated. I'm a volunteer. I will not be mandated. And it's like, no, like, you're missing the point. No one's telling you have to be there, and you have to give your time up, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you want to, you will. And most people that join the fire department, they want to be there. So I do think a lot of this comes down to communication as well. Are you conveying the message properly?
It is hard. Duty crews is a whole nother angle. And listen, whether people like it or not, it's the best thing that you could ever do.
No, I know.
mean,
I'm just saying.
I was supposed to do
other
duty
stuff.
crew last night. My mom needed me to help her, and that comes first. So they had duty crew, but they had their dinner. So I stopped there on the way home. And they're like, we're just having leftovers tonight, because there was a bunch of leftovers. So, so I stopped down. So as I'm walking in, I see them all coming down the hallway, and I go, what's going on? They're like an MVA, but they got 6 guys in the rig, so I know I'm not going in. So I went to the bathroom, and then, we were going to see about rolling another truck, but they didn't need it. But, and I'm like, wow, I just came through 347 in Nichols. But with the construction going on over there, there's like an accident, like a few times a day now.
Yeah.
It's almost insane. So, I don't think it was too bad. But anyway, I went in, I had something to eat, I waited around a little while for them, they didn't come back. The juniors were in the other room doing a drill, and I went home, but, it was good. They turned out that fast. Like, they literally went from the rec room, put the gear on, and they were out the door in
Right.
under a minute. Like, you can't get any better than that. Now, telling people to do things, all right? We joined for a reason. It's very hard to tell a person, you have to be there Monday night at 7 o'clock or whatever. I get that, but when you're a probie, like when you first join, like if those are the nights, those are the trainings, that's the only night you have. You got to show up. Otherwise, duty crews, like we pick and choose when we do duty crews. So you can pick a time that works for you. I don't have to tell you, Tyler, you got to be there Mondays. I don't have to tell you that. That's your choice if you want to come.
Right.
Now, there are departments that do mandate, or even ambulance agencies, that you do X amount of hours per week, stuff like that. But you sign up for that. If you didn't sign up for that, then don't do it.
Right. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If people are saying that to you, we don't do this all the time, we're volunteers.
Well, then why are you here?
Well, there's that part of it. Why are you here? But the other part of it is you, as, say, an officer that told them something, you have to be open-minded to them too. Okay, what do you mean we don't do this all the time? What do you mean we're volunteers? What is the big issue here? The communication has to be opened up. That's the biggest problem with leadership across the board.
Well, communication is our biggest downfall.
Exactly. Not just in the fire department, but in business in general.
Everything.
And you mentioned it before, putting people in office. Like one of the big things in business and in the fire service is people get promoted because they're good at what they do.
Doesn't mean they're going to be a good leader.
Doesn't mean they're going to be a good leader. So I think you have to be open-minded on both sides. And are you adding things that maybe aren't necessary, that are taking up a little bit more time, or are people just bitch moaning and complaining? Because you're going to get both.
Listen, a well-trained individual will definitely do things quicker than you will as an untrained individual. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I mean, will you get the job done? Yeah, you might. It just may take a lot longer. You know, you think about anything you do, right? If you know, and we're taught a certain way to do something, like let's say this table. I had to put this table together, right? If you were taught how to do it, you do it all the time, it's no big deal. Otherwise, what do you have to do?
Read the instructions.
Figure out where things go, right? Or you're going to watch a YouTube video and figure it out, and then you're going to do it, right? So that takes time for you to do it, right? So, you know, like you see it every once in a while on social media, like Facebook or something like that. You know, had a plumbing problem. I called this guy in. He was there for 10 minutes, and he wanted $400.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that.
Okay? What are you paying for? You're paying for the knowledge and experience that he got that done in that amount of time, okay? Or you could do it yourself and do it a lot cheaper, but it might take you an hour or 2 hours to do, okay? So what's better? You're paying for time and experience. That's what you're paying for, right? And it's similar to, you know, not that you're getting paid, but it's the same idea, right? A firefighter is trapped or a civilian is trapped. It's a life or death situation that has to be done as quickly as possible, okay? Yeah, you may be able to drag that person out, but if you didn't train on that on a regular basis, will you be able to get them out quick enough for them to survive?
Right.
And that's the way you got to look at it, right? I know certain techniques. I know certain things that I can do to get that civilian out faster than the person that doesn't know. Like, I know that I'll grab a quilt or a curtain and I'll roll that victim into it and I'll drag them down the hallway and get them out of there in seconds. Or I'm going to take the piece of webbing and I'm going to wrap their wrists and I'm going to grab them and take them out, okay? I know I can take them out. Now, you might be able to try to grab them. You may get them the first time. Just grab and go. And you might get them out in the same amount of time. But most likely, you're not, because you weren't trained. You weren't thinking, should I go head first or feet first? You weren't thinking that, you know, they were naked and they didn't have any clothes to grab, and, you know, your hands kept slipping off of them, or you were soaking wet, or whatever the deal is. So by training and having that experience and knowledge gets you to do things that much faster. Now, if a firefighter's trapped, your brother or sister, or even yourself, do you think you want to be well-versed on how to get yourself out of that situation? Mm-hmm. I think I would. So to just say, yeah, we don't need to do this, it's a what-if situation. You know, I had a person one time tell me, we shouldn't train on emergency procedures for SCBA because we never use them.
Okay.
I know we're all kind of chuckling about this and laughing, but I had a person say that. Well, when was the last time a person had to use a reduced profile or a low profile to get themselves out of a situation? And I'm like, it happens all the time.
Were they fucking around?
No, they was dead serious. They wanted to take that out of mandatory training for the year because we don't do emergency stuff in real life.
Good God.
Yeah. So that stuff kind of scares me. So, yeah, maybe we don't use it. All it takes is that once. Now, I've had to use every single emergency procedure out there so far over time. Now, did it happen this year or last year or the year before? Maybe not. But over time, it's happened. But I was versed in it. I was trained in it. I knew how to do it. I was able to handle myself appropriately. So you have to train for the worst case scenario every time.
And here's two good examples of that. We talked about this. The first one was Levittown. They had that firefighter coming
Bailed
out the window
windows. Yeah.
right as it was flashing.
Yeah, why do I need a bailout rope? Why do I need a ladder in a window?
Exactly. Both those guys luckily knew what they were doing. Clearly those guys trained. The second
New
instance-
Abbott, upstate New York, same thing. Two chiefs, middle of the night. Got there quick, got up above the fire, searching for residents. Both of them had to use bailout ropes and bail out the second floor
Right.
window.
But
So
here's the other part of it, though.
You never know.
The Levittown Volunteer Department. Then you look at that other instance. It was a residential area in Houston, I think, Texas, where the garage collapsed and caught one of the firefighters under there. Mm-hmm. And I believe they got him out eventually, but he was trapped in there pretty good. Regular, I think it was a one-story residential, career fire department. Like, the shit will happen. It's
going to happen, and as much as we say it'll never happen in my neighborhood or, it's going to happen somewhere. And you may be part of it.
right.
So, like people say all the time, I don't need a seatbelt. We're never going to get in an accident. This and that. You never know. You will blow out of a tire. Your chauffeur, God forbid, has a seizure, a heart attack, something else, and crashes or rolls the rig over. You never know.
Right.
So you have to prepare for the unexpected every single time.
Yeah.
But don't ever say I'm a volunteer and nothing's going to happen, because it's going to happen.
That's a terrible.
Unless you're sitting at home on your hands every day and just signing in for calls and never going on the rig, it's going to happen.
The last thing we have here is actually two of them, but they kind of go hand in hand. Training for new officers and succession planning, which I think wraps right back into each other.
Yeah.
A few points here, and again, we talked about this before. We are working on something for this to kind of give a little bit more, because when you go into training for an officer, you take fire officer 1, whatever it may be, they're telling you a lot about fireground decision-making, administrative decision-making, but what we just mentioned, they don't teach you how to lead people or communicate effectively.
They do some, but not.
Some, but not enough. Mm-hmm. So the points here, people who want to be officers but don't have experience should either seek out a mentor that's been in their position or be assigned a mentor that's been in their position. And succession planning is imperative. And this is one of my answers, and I'll let you riff on this, but say if you have 3 people that want to run for office, and this is more so on the company level. 3 guys want to run for second lieutenant. Have them work with other members or run trainings. Delegate more tasks to them. This gives them the opportunity to see if it's the right fit for them, and it also gives the other members in your company a chance to see them in action before election. If you don't have something in place, an actual succession plan, or there's no immediate training available for new officers. That's how I would say, at least to start.
It's a good start. There's a lot to it. I mean, I talk about, always having a deep bench, right? Having people that can take your position. You should always be training people below you to take over for you. God forbid something happens, which, you never know in any direction, good, bad, or indifferent. So we should always be teaching people to be leaders or take over. One good thing about the volunteer fire service is we get versed in a lot of different areas, right? You're in the engine, you ride on the engine, you ride on the truck, you ride on an ambulance, right? You do a little everything all over the place. And sometimes as you get more seniority, you're usually going to ride in the front seat at some point. But you watch what other people do, you try to emulate other officers in the good, not the bad, right? You can learn both ways. You can learn bad and good, but you want to take the best parts out of the officers that you've worked under and use that to mold yourself to be a better officer. And I always tried to do that. So that's part of it. But if the person starts riding in the front seat, you can see their actions and see how they start doing things, then you can kind of get a good feel of what they do. Not everybody can give a training. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some people cannot stand in front of the room. Some people cannot relay the information properly. They may know it, they may say it, but they cannot get it to the point. Like, you got to understand your audience, the people that are in there, especially in the volunteers. You're teaching all different levels and experience levels. So it's very difficult. But on a smaller scale, start with your company.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then
company training.
Slowly work your way up. But being good teacher doesn't make you a good leader either. So
Well,
there's a little of everything.
My point with that,
leading by example and
Yeah.
doing and showing people that you can do it, that helps.
so that was my point with that. This isn't, say, just one person. You got three different people running. You mentioned communication. That's being able to train and stand up in front of people and give a drill or class, whatever it is. Well, one person or two people might be better than that third person. And how does this person operate under pressure? From a fireground scenario, you want somebody that can operate well under pressure. So that gives the rest of the company an idea of, okay, I like how he did this or she did that, and that's how I'm going to, post my vote. But yeah, I agree with that. You have to start building it up somewhere, especially if you're in an officer position. We say this all the time, start training members to be officers. That way you don't have to be in that pickle where it's, okay, I'm moving up to first lieutenant, second lieutenant's open. And
listen, some people do not want to run for office. They do not want to be a leader.
Which is fine.
Some people just don't have the time for it either. It takes time and effort. And I'm not saying the officers have to do everything. That's always been one big thing in the volunteer service that I've seen is like, well, he's lieutenant now, he's got to do it. He should be doing it, or whatever. Yes, you should be leading by example, but that doesn't mean you do everything. You should be able to delegate things to other people
100%.
properly. If you just tell them to do it, they're going to be like, oh, I'm doing all his work. I make him look good, this and that. No, you got to be able to get people to do things for you because they want to do it for you.
Exactly.
So that takes a little time of how to kind of navigate that. And sometimes it's by starting the project or, getting people to start working with you and say, hey, let's work on this today, and slowly start that process. And then, you could joke around and clown around while you're doing it, but it's not. But stepping up and, putting your best foot forward and getting other people to follow you is usually the best way.
Yeah, and it kind of stems into what we were talking about before of encouraging the members to start helping out with the upkeep and maintenance of stuff. All these things really
show
tie
them,
into
show
each other.
them, and if you don't know, guys joke around and like, oh, well, you read all this stuff right before the training. Yeah, I wanted to be prepared. I don't want to look like a fucking idiot. But you got to prepare yourself and make sure that you know what you're talking about when you're doing that drill. Like, don't walk into a drill and just start, hey, let's figure it out,
Yeah, I mean, I used to do the thing with my members that I thought were ready to come up as officers, where we would do a drill and I'd grab one of them. You're OIC for this. This is your scenario. Just want to see how they handled it. I'm throwing this at you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I get, well, you didn't tell me. Okay, well, if you're officer in the rig and you get a call for a structure fire, you're going to pull up. You don't know what you're getting to, so show me how you would do what you got to do. And I'm not sitting there berating them. I'll tell them what they're doing great, and then we'll do a debrief after. Yep. Okay, how'd this work out? How'd you like this? How'd you like that? But it all comes down to communication, I think, and explaining the why to people, not pointing fingers. You do this. You got to give people a little bit more information as to why they're supposed to be doing something. And I think that makes for better morale, and that will help you bring up new officers, start your succession planning, and then it takes off. And then you'll start building a good organization.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to be careful, though, too, because, some officers, captains, chiefs, and stuff like that, even like, say, Yaphank, for example, right? Sometimes the chief runs the first evolution, then gives the second one to the captain, or the next two to the captain, or they just have the captains run it, And it's like, well, who's teaching the chief how to run it?
Right.
Like, the chief needs to train, too. You all need to train. Everybody needs to continually train, right? Just because you run some operations here doesn't mean that you have it. Training is for training for everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
So, don't just pawn it off on other people and say, well, one day I'm not going to be here. You got to do it. You got to prepare them in all different ways.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I would be there with them. This is just a drill, a company level drill. Obviously not a department drill, but I just want to see, okay, we're going to need officers. You guys are the 3 or 4 or 5 that are about ready to be in that position. You guys have all the qualifications, but let's just see how you perform. And, more of like, okay, who am I going to start really working with? Succession planning,
Right.
to take the position.
And you have to prepare people, and I think that's probably, another one of our downfalls is we just expect people to know sometimes instead of actually doing. For example, incident command, like, are we training our lieutenants and captains and everybody else to run a command board? And this is something I want to do with my department next year with our officers, is show them how to run the command post. And not just those officers, take senior members in and chiefs and everybody. Show them how to properly run a command post. Because it's different from being the incident commander than running a command post. They're 2 separate entities. And I know sometimes the chiefs do it, but you really should have other people do it. The other thing I see, too, is like when we run all these mutual aid calls, right? Sometimes you have multiple departments responding, and you have 16 chiefs there. Well, they didn't ask you for a chief to respond. They asked you for an engine, or they asked you for a ladder. And everybody feels like, oh, I got to go there too. And sometimes 2 or 3 chiefs come from another department. Okay? We don't need 16,000 chiefs at a single-story building or even a 2-story building.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when we're running mutual aid, what we request is what we should get. If we're requesting mutual aid for a chief or a couple chiefs, then we get a couple chiefs. If we're requesting for an engine, we should just be sending an engine, not an engine, 4 chiefs, a brush truck, an ambulance, fire police, and everything else under the sun.
I have seen chiefs before where, say, like the chief of department goes en route to a mutual aid call.
And they don't get the engine out.
No. Meaning,
That's all another
like,
problem.
There's another chief that's like, damn, I want to go. He diverts to the firehouse and hops on as a crew with the engine, and you might have...
And then there's nobody in your district.
No. You might have a third chief, like this is from my experience, third chief goes around, I'm going to head down to the headquarters and wait for alarms to come in while you guys are doing whatever. But it's like a little battle between the chiefs. Like, who gets on the road first? All right, I still want to go, so I'm going to hop with the engine crew. The other chief's, all right, fine. I'll handle.
Yeah, but you have chiefs sometimes they respond out of district, and then it turns out they don't have a driver for their engine.
Exactly. You have that
Like,
too,
I used to
100%.
try to wait and make sure I had a crew. And if I didn't have a crew, I'd go to the firehouse. And if I have to drive the engine, I'll drive the engine to get the engine there. Because they need help. They're asking for an engine. That's what I want to send. I don't need a chief. I said this years ago. I might have said it on the podcast. Once I asked for a mutual aid for a chief. And they were like, we don't do that. I'm like, all I need is a chief. I'm the only chief. I need another chief here at this operation. That's all I wanted was a chief. Like, nobody asked for a mutual aid for a chief. Like,
Interesting.
I
guess you
gets
don't
back
hear that.
into, like, if we had box alarm assignments of how many people, in the volunteer service, we never know who's coming. But realistically, if we send 3 chiefs out of our district to a mutual aid call for a fire, and then we have something in our own district and we have no chiefs back, are we really serving the proper purpose? Like,
Right.
I don't think we train our chiefs enough, and maybe I'm wrong, but train our chiefs enough to understand what their actual job and duties are. Like, you have 4 chiefs on scene, how do you assign them?
Right.
If I have 16 chiefs on scene, how do I assign them? Well, all you guys can go home. We don't need you. Like, what are you doing here? You know, like, and it's great. You keep up the camaraderie. You talk to each other. I think it's good. You know, I like to go to places and talk to people. Say hi. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it's fun. But we're putting a lot of risk on the road by putting extra units on.
Yeah.
And then are we manning all these other districts if something else comes in? So I think we need to get better at that. You know, I kind of had a criteria. You know, if I had one chief, you know, commander, right? If you have two chiefs, you know, usually they assign them operations. I used to try to assign them to the rear yard because that was an area I couldn't see. Then the third chief would be my operations chief or whatever. You know, I try to play around with it, right? Assign somebody to water supply. Make sure that you get proper water supply, right? But we should train our chiefs to do the job of a chief. I don't need 16 chiefs inside or 4 chiefs inside, right? If I send another engine in from another department, do I need to send a chief in with them? Can they handle it themselves? So I just think we should do a better job of due diligence of how we assign people or how we respond on mutual aid. Do we really need 5 departments responding on a smell of a burning belt in a commercial building? I don't think there's a need.
Yeah, I
So-
think, yeah, you and I discussed that, yeah, because that was another one of the comments about automatic aid and just thinking like, yeah, you don't want to send 5 different towns, departments screaming to something like that where you're putting a lot
I mean,
of
it's
people
good
at
and bad.
risk.
I mean, during the day, it's very difficult around here, and you want to know somebody's coming. I think that's a good thing. But I really think we're going to get to the point where it's going to be like Boy Who Cried Wolf, where, you know, we keep banging these departments out, and every single time we put them out there, and then we don't need you, go home. Don't go home, go home, go home. And eventually people are going to say, well, why am I going down to the firehouse?
It's actually a good
You know?
point to think, because, yeah, that could absolutely go that way, especially for the places, like, I know some departments are proactive with an automatic alarm at a specific
Well,
nursing home or
used, for
something.
example, the nursing home situation. I mean, that's one where it's a bigger building with a lot of people. You better make sure you have people coming to do evacuations.
sure.
You know, like we have Stony Brook University. Like if it sounds like it's legit something, you know, we're going to be sending a lot of people there because it's a big building. So, you know, there's certain situations, yes. I mean, if it's definitely somebody's calling, or we have multiple calls, there's flames coming from a building, that's a different story.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds pretty legit, all right? But, you know, there's, like I said, I mean, we want firefighters to be firefighters. We want people to go through the paces and practice what we do. Even getting on the rig, putting your gear on, like I said, you got to get dressed, got to get ready, you got to prepare. That's all practice runs every time. But I don't want to get to the point where it's Boy Who Cried Wolf, and then people just say, I'm not going to go. Sounds like nonsense.
Right.
So, but I think we should allocate our resources a little better and come up with a better system of how many units we actually need and then go from there. But
Yeah,
I know it's hard. It's difficult in the volunteer service.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of this, too, is, I'm going to say it, Kev, you got to evolve.
Whoa,
know,
you're using my words now?
I used your
We're
word, but
evolving.
Saying,
Tyler wants to evolve.
meaning like there's a million different ways to skin the cat, and you said it before, we don't have all the answers, but we talk a lot about this stuff, and
We talk a lot.
Yeah, and we think that some of the suggestions that we give out
We're getting
have
some
worked.
great suggestions, and I think we're giving some people answers. I think people are learning from each other because they're writing comments and they're seeing that other people have similar problems. It's not just their department. Like I said, I mean, you could change the name on a door. You got the same types of people. You got the same issues. It's the same everywhere. I hate to tell you. So how do we get better at that? How do we work together? And, you know, like I said, in the volunteer service, when we're banging people out, responding from home, you don't know who's going to show up. So that's why we bang out so many departments, because we don't know. And even those departments, we bang them out sometimes. Well, they can't get an engine. Call the next department, which takes another 5-10 minutes, right? So the only way to fix that is in-house people, duty crews, or paid people. And I don't want to say, listen, I'm not saying push paid people, but we look at a lot of these departments and in different areas that have evolved and have changed to doing on-duty personnel, whether they're volunteers or paid. You look at these areas that have transformed from volunteer to a combination or volunteer to paid. But The only way to understand or know that we're actually going to have a response is people committing and saying, I'm responding. Now, like I said, my department does at-home duty crews from home. So you sign up, we know you're coming, and we're going to get a crew out.
Right.
We will. It's just going to be a little bit delayed because they have to respond from home. But at least we're guaranteeing a crew. It's a step in the right direction of just banging it out, and hopefully the dispatcher sitting there and twiddling their thumbs. Hopefully somebody calls in for this thing. So
I think we're getting better at
we're
it.
getting better, and people that commit the effort or the time will guarantee a response. And we have to guarantee a response for our community. We have to. We can't say, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Right.
They expect us to be there. We have to do something. So figure out a way to make it happen for your department.
Absolutely. And with that, I think that wraps up 38.
38 episodes
And,
down. A lot
we'll
to
get
come. We're looking to put some stuff together and hopefully help all you guys out in your departments and to evolve or get better or learn from other people. And, hopefully that will make us as a whole a more cohesive response agencies across the country.
Absolutely. All right. That's that. Episode 38.
38 out.